Millions across India eagerly await the monsoon rains each year. As it breaks, it defines the destiny of farmers, of India's food and water security and electricity needs. It's a time for celebration. These are life-giving showers. There are times they can become harbingers of death and destruction. In August 2018, they did just that. Massive floods swept through the southern Indian states of Kerala and parts of Karnataka. Hundreds of lives were lost, thousands displaced, and property worth millions of rupees was literally washed away. In just a fortnight, these areas were ravaged by a catastrophe that will require years of rebuilding. Is this an isolated phenomenon, a black swan, or the new normal as weather patterns become more variable worldwide? A perfect storm occurs when a series of events come together to create a catastrophe. And that's what seems to have happened recently in South India with the mega flood. I'm Niret Alva, a journalist and an environmental filmmaker, and I'll be traveling through Kerala and its neighboring state, Karnataka, looking at the reasons behind the destruction and to do a post-mortem of a mega flood. Shavarappan and his team of local fishermen head out into the Arabian Sea every morning. This group has weathered the 2004 tsunami and more recently survived the 2017 cyclone Oki, which had devastating effects on coastal Kerala in South India. Before they head out, they study the clouds and gauge the winds to predict rain and the weather out at sea. I'm here in Ernakulam district a few weeks after the devastating flood of August 2018 hit Kerala to understand just how things unfolded here. The monsoon breaks over Kerala every year around June 1st. But this year was different. This year the monsoons, was there any difference that you noticed this year? And in the month of August, it rained very heavily between the 1st and the 19th. Kerala's rivers, including its longest river, the Periyar, began to rise, and their dam reservoirs started to fill up rapidly. Officials were being forced to consider options never contemplated in rain-scarce years. If water wasn't released, the dams would burst. The sheer volume of released water caused by the opening of the dam gates transformed the usually docile Periyar and other rivers into seemingly manic beasts, bursting their banks, racing downstream, consuming, inundating, carrying away everything that could be carried away.
Worst flood in 100 years. 80 dams have been opened.
बाढ़ और पानी से आधा देश परेशान है. करीब 600 लोगों की जान जा चुकी है. 13 out of the 14 districts of Kerala. Over 3 lakhs people are not in their homes. They are in houses.
The busy Cochin International Airport cancelled all flights as it started getting flooded. Alerts began to be sounded across the districts of Kerala and Karnataka. Now the full extent of the flooding and devastation was plain to see.
ഞങ്ങളുടെ പെരിങ്ങൽകുത്ത് ഡാം തുറന്നു. ഡാം തുറന്നപ്പോൾ അറിയാത്ത രാത്രിയായിരുന്നു ഡാം തുറന്നത്. Such a disaster has not been seen by my ancestor, if I could put it across rightly.
ഇത് ശരിക്കും ഉരുളുപൊട്ടലാണ് ഉണ്ടായത്. ഒരു അത്യുഗ്ര സ്ഫോടനമാണ് 2018 ഓഗസ്റ്റ് 16 രാവിലെ 9:10 സംഭവം. അവിടെ നിന്ന് മരങ്ങളും എല്ലാം
I decided to start my search for answers by meeting the man at the epicenter of the storm. P.H. Kurian, Principal Secretary, who headed Kerala's flood rescue and relief operations, knew they were up against something very big.
We requisitioned Army, Air Force, Navy, and Coast Guard. And there came our help of the local fishermen. They are the one who actually even worked in the night. They came so voluntarily in large numbers.
As news of the flooding spread, over 4,000 fishermen like Shavarappan from different parts of Kerala reacted with alacrity to the call for help. Fishing boats were loaded on trucks and moved from the coast to inland areas to rescue marooned citizens.
അതുകൂടാതെ തന്നെ നമ്മൾ എന്താ പറയണ ഒരു കൊച്ചിനെ നമ്മൾ രക്ഷപ്പെടുത്തി നമുക്ക് കൊച്ചുങ്ങളെല്ലാം നടുവിളി പിള്ളേരും നടുവിളിയും കേട്ടാലും നമുക്ക്
It's so humbling and so challenging to meet people like the fishermen. They move through these flooded streets in their boats, rescuing people until they're exhausted. And finally, when it's all over, you have a lot of eager residents coming back to give them monetary rewards, to thank them. And what do the fishermen do? They refuse those rewards. They say it was our duty. Fishermen are said to have saved over 65,000 lives. These are the stories, so many stories like this from around Kerala that remind you finally that it's the human spirit that must somehow keep going in situations like this. It was students, neighbors, just regular citizens who were the first responders to this crisis. My post-mortem of this mega flood takes me to Chendamangalam, a village of traditional weavers and one of the badly affected areas. Chendamangalam is a rare geographical combination of 3 rivers, 7 inlets, hillocks and vast expanses of green plains situated in Ernakulam district in Kerala. The entire village was flooded in a matter of hours. You were here when the flood happened?
അത് മലവെള്ളം വെള്ളം പൊന്നിട്ട് ഇത്ര ഹൈറ്റില് അതാണ് ഹൈറ്റില് പിന്നെ സ്കൂളിൽ എല്ലായിടത്തും എല്ലാം മൊത്തം ഇവിടെ വെള്ളമായിരുന്നു.
You have any picture, photo?
Picture, അതിന്റെ വീഡിയോ
video.
സ്കൂളിലെ ആൾക്കാർ വന്ന് താമസിച്ച് പിന്നെ മൊത്തം എല്ലാ സ്ഥലത്തും വെള്ളം തന്നെയായിരുന്നു. ഈ പ്രദേശങ്ങളെല്ലാം വെള്ളത്തിനടിയിലായി.
Right here where we are standing, I wouldn't have believed local accounts and would have thought them grossly exaggerated if I had not seen the video. Couldn't fathom just how far the water travelled and how relentlessly. Hello. Hi. Which team is stronger? Their team. Okay. So were you all here when the flood came?
Yes.
Where? Up to this height?
Yes.
The flood went up to this height?
Yes.
Helicopter tried to land here, no?
Yeah.
Helicopter?
Yeah.
And what happened? It landed? Recreating events of those fateful days and looking at citizen videos, it seems as if the water had a mind of its own. The handloom industry of Chandamangalam has a long history, and the craft has been passed generation to generation. Floodwater damaged looms and stocks of threads, and countless finished saris were destroyed. The age-old weaving industry was pretty much wiped out. Sukumaran has been weaving cotton saris in Chandamangalam since he was a young man. In the middle of August, the river water changed his life and destroyed his family's fortune. Mr. Sukumaran, the monsoon seemed like a normal monsoon initially. Take us back to August 14th and tell us how things panned out for your family.
2 മണിക്ക് രാത്രി അത് ഇത്രയും വെള്ളമുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ ഞങ്ങൾ സ്കൂളിൽ ചെന്ന് അവിടെ ക്യാമ്പിൽ വേറെ ഇതൊന്നും ഭക്ഷണങ്ങളൊന്നുമില്ല. അങ്ങനെ പറൂക്ക് പോകണേ. പറൂക്ക് ഇവിടുന്ന് ഞങ്ങൾ നീന്തി പാലം വരെ പോയി. ഇത്രയും വെള്ളത്തിൽ നീന്തി ടൗൺ ഹാളിലാണ് ചെന്നത്. അവിടെയാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ ഈ 16-ാം തീയതി അല്ല 15-ാം തീയതി മുതൽ 9 ദിവസം അവിടെ പറഞ്ഞു. ഈ സാധനം എല്ലാവരും പോയി ഒക്കെ പോയി. ഇതേ മൂലം കിടക്കണുണ്ട്. ഒക്കെ കണ്ടിച്ച് കളഞ്ഞു. അത്രയും പറയാനുള്ളൂ.
Intense rescue and relief operations continued for days, but by the end of it, over 400 people had lost their lives across Kerala. I'm trying to decipher why the devastation was so extensive, and I'm headed to West Kochi to look at some hard evidence of the first signs of this killer rainstorm. When I visit a few weeks after the flood of August 2018, the South Indian state of Kerala is staggering back to life. The last flood on this scale that hit Kerala was in 1924. Between 1924 and now, Kerala has become one of the most densely populated and urbanized states in the country. That's why the destruction this time is unparalleled. In Kerala, the administration is using IT to map and assess the damage to people and businesses and is working out a compensation plan. Some estimates put the losses across Kerala to be over 400,000 million rupees, or about the GDP of a small nation like Fiji. Sometimes the damage is immeasurable. The small Nayar Samajam Public Library in Chandamangalam is one of the oldest in Ernakulam district and had many rare historical books. What happened, Joy? What happened here?
This is flood, loss of over 14,000 books.
My
Total
gosh.
27,000 books and 14,000 loss.
My
Very
gosh.
old books, and National Geographic 100 years old books, full of loss.
Yeah.
Illustrated Weekly,
Yeah.
Sports in the 100 years books,
Yeah.
full of loss.
One can't put a price to a loss like this one. It's difficult to fathom what really happened. Was such a quantum of rainfall predicted? Did our weather watchers see this coming? It looks like an oversized football in the sky. But it's really a Doppler weather radar in West Kochi, and it reads precipitation patterns to predict rain and weather events like cyclones in the 500-kilometer radius around Kochi.
This is the only weather equipment which can actually give you real-time data about the clouds and about the winds. Immediately this data will be sent to Delhi. From the forecasting people will take the data from there and they will analyze it, and based on that they will issue the forecast.
Let's take a closer look at the computer reading of rainfall over Kerala between August 14th and August 17th. Denoted in blues, the graphic shows very heavy rainfall over Kerala and especially high over Idukki. In New Delhi, Mrityunjay Mahapatra, Additional Director General, Indian Meteorological Department, who was receiving data from Kochi, explains.
The occurrence of low pressure systems, along with intensification near Odisha coast and its westward movement, resulted in unprecedented high rainfall activity. If we compare the rainfall in August for 2018 with the past 100 years, we find that this year, as it was 170% above the average rainfall for the Kerala during the period 1 to 17 August. Such type of rainfall was the highest after the year 1924. Idukki district received rainfall which was 438% above the long period average.
Over 430% above normal. So there is an intensifying factor, an outlier event. Not only did it rain over 4 times more than it usually does, it also rained down over and into one of Kerala's largest dams, in which water levels were already high. So we are approaching Idukki. It's drizzling now, but it's a light drizzle. Nothing compared to the rain that came down a month ago when the dam gates had to be opened. Idukki is only one of the dams that had to be opened, but let's see what unfolded here. There is the Idukki Dam. It's one of the highest arch dams in Asia. Electricity generated here lights up villages and cities in Kerala, and its reservoir provides water security to millions in the state. People talk about the lull before the storm, but here at Idukki, you get a sense of the peace and calm after the storm. Quite a paradox. In the middle of August, a series of events were dovetailing into each other. The water in this reservoir, already at a high, was made worse by very heavy rainfall. Once dam gates upstream of Idukki were opened, it was only a matter of time before Idukki would have to throw open its doors to relieve the pressure of billions of gallons of water.
Dam managers thinking that now the monsoons are retreating, I'm not going to get enough rain, so I'm going to hold this water. It's full of water. And then you get this incredible rainfall, and there is no option for the dam manager to now open the gates, and that makes the flood a deluge.
July rain, itself there were rains and water was there in the dams. So the dam started opening, the Idukki Dam opened on the 9th of August.
The decision was taken to open one gate and then another, and then all 5 gates of the dam for the first time in 40 years. Warnings to citizens to evacuate were issued downstream of Idukki. Cherathoni town was the first to be hit within minutes of the gates opening. When we visited, the signs of what the raging waters of the Periyar River had done to the town were still evident. Situated in the Western Ghats, Kerala has 44 rivers flowing through around 61 small and large dams. So intense was the monsoon this year that the floodgates of over 35 dams had to be opened. Dr. Sitaraman, president of the All Kerala River Protection Council, who has been fighting for the preservation of Kerala's rivers, feels that better dam management would have mitigated the extent of damage.
Regarding the opening the gates of the dams, they could have intermittently opened the dams and they could have regulated the flow of water so such casualty would not have been arose in Kerala. But what happened is it was wrong due to the wrong dam management. The floods destroyed everything.
it's clear Kerala simply wasn't prepared for the sheer quantity of rain. Could climate change over India have played a role in Kerala's floods?
If you look at the average temperature of India as a whole, the data for the past 100 years or more indicates that there has been an increase in temperature by about 0.67 degrees Celsius. There are some studies which indicate that because of this rise in temperature, there can be the impact on occurrence of extremely heavy rainfall.
If you were to look at the recent past, there have been flash floods in Mumbai, Leh, Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir and Chennai. It would seem that the probability of intense cloudbursts and flash floods is increasing by the day. This map shows the frequency of heavy rain events between 1951 and 2015. Even as Kerala's floodwaters were receding, flash floods were being reported in Himachal and Uttarakhand in North India. Sunita Narayan, foremost environmental writer and activist, sees a clear pattern.
See, what is climate change in the context of India? What we are seeing today is definitely a new normal. And the new normal is that you are beginning to see more and more extreme rain events. The extreme nature of those events is that places are getting 50%, 60% of their annual rainfall in a matter of a few days, in a matter of a few hours. Now that's the kind of rainfall that is leading to the floods today.
One would think that the flood ending is a good thing, but the flood ending and the waters receding have left a whole series of problems in their wake. Wells have been contaminated and have dried up across the affected districts. There was a real fear of drought.
Tragedy of this is, and that's really that double whammy of climate change, that climate change in India means flood at the time of drought, and that's the new normal.
Receding floodwaters have left other dangers lurking in their wake, and the residents were once again caught seeking help. In August 2018, the raging waters that surged through Kerala's cities and villages left large-scale destruction and environmental damage in their wake. As I traveled through the rain-ravaged state, I witnessed the hardships faced by citizens even weeks after the floods. I am with Sudha, who has just made a rather unusual SOS call.
Hello? അതെ രണ്ടാമത്തെ വളവ് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ലെഫ്റ്റ് സൈഡിലുള്ള വീട് അതെ.
So are they on their way?
Yeah, on the way. They are at the junction.
എന്താ പ്രശ്നം?
സാധനങ്ങളൊക്കെ മുകളിൽ നിന്ന് എടുക്കുമ്പോൾ ഒരു പാമ്പിനെ കണ്ടു.
എന്ത് പാമ്പാണെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റുമോ?
അനലിയെ പോലെ തോന്നുന്നത് അറിഞ്ഞൂടാ.
ഏത് വീട്?
വീടാണ്.
So what did the lady say?
She said a viper inside the house.
Yeah. And what is this?
Python. Today morning we caught from Paravur area.
So in terms of the flood, right, after August 20th, a lot of people found snakes in their houses.
Yeah.
So how did you all deal with that? Like, what were the numbers involved?
Numbers around more than 100 calls per day.
Okay. Floodwaters flushed snakes out of their natural habitat and had them looking for new homes, and often the places they chose were human settlements. To deal with what was becoming a first-rate crisis, over 100 snake rescue volunteers from Kerala and other parts of India were mobilized by the Wildlife Trust of India. The team used WhatsApp and online platforms to set up helplines. Okay, I don't want to get in the way of your work when you go in, so I'm going to ask our crew to put a camera on you, so that we see how you do what you do in rescuing snakes that are in people's houses after the floods. The snakes rescued are returned to the wild. It would seem that the presence of so many snakes is reflective of a rich ecosystem. I'm sure you're going to be kept quite busy these days. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. The Western Ghats support 50 million people who live across 6 Indian states. Kerala is only one of them. The source of water for these states comes from the scores of rivers that originate in the Western Ghats. The tropical forests of the Ghats support hundreds of species of plants, animals and insects. These forests and the ecosystem are crucial not just for plant and animal life, but also essential for the millions of Indians who depend on the monsoon. I meet with Dr. Vijayan, member of the Madhav Gadgil Committee, appointed by the national government in 2010 to look at the threats to the Western Ghats. The committee had warned that Kerala was a disaster waiting to happen. It's unfortunate that their claim was validated when zones that they had marked as ecologically sensitive were amongst the regions worst hit by the floods. They have red flagged several threats to the rich ecosystem of the Western Ghats.
All the states, they depend heavily on the Western Ghats, mainly because of water. We consider it as a very large water tank, right? And rivers are there. The main threat to the Western Ghats are mining and quarrying. Another one is forest felling. The third one is that sand removal, quarrying of sand. These are the major thing. And plus here, encroachment to the Western Ghats. That is another very serious thing.
And herein lies another piece of the puzzle behind the devastation of August 2018 in South India: deforestation. About 50 kilometers from Kochi in Ismalayattur, a hub for stone quarries that feeds the real estate boom. This is Sunil Thomas from KSSP, an organization that's been fighting for years to shut down the stone quarries in the area.
See, the roads are very severely damaged, so we can go through bikes only.
So our team is very soon going to be setting up a drone to give you a bird's eye view of what's going on here. The drone is clearly showing us that the hillsides have been totally destroyed by blasting. There is no tree cover, and you can see how huge swaths of hillside have literally been obliterated. There is wastewater also that comes out of these proceedings that then runs into the Periyar River. And when heavy rains come, the consequences can be disastrous. So you're showing me a quarry that has been sort of closed down, right?
See, we can see house there above them.
Yeah.
Most of the houses are vacant.
So can you tell me the connection that you see between blasting and quarrying and the floods?
I think this quarrying and this mining, this will destruct the structure of the land, I think. I think during the rainy season, the government already ordering the quarries to stop for some days. There is a clear-cut relation between this blasting and the landslide or flood. Because when the blast here in the quarries like this, we feel like earthquake.
One of the casualties with unregulated quarrying is topsoil gets obliterated.
During the heavy rain, the topsoil may slide and it may directly affect the cultivation. The thing is, they are not following these rules and regulations. The people who want to correct them, they are in the custody of these quarrying people.
What do you think can be done to correct the situation?
I think we have to find out other solutions to make homes or buildings or something like that. If we are not taking remedial actions about all these things, this flood, if the flood coming again another year or every year, the Kerala will be blasted.
Climate change studies have shown that deforestation results in changes in the monsoon pattern, as is evidenced by increasing incidence of floods across India, and the most recent deluge in Kerala in August 2018. I'm traveling through the Western Ghats, leaving Kerala behind. I cross the border into Karnataka and enter the hill district of Kodagu, the land of coffee and army generals. The fragility of the Western Ghats is evident when you see what the very heavy rainfall did to Kodagu. Along the way, we saw the depredations of the flood, the destruction in its wake, roads that had just been washed away, landslides, stretches of hill that had just been obliterated. What I saw was depressing. Rivers of mud, trees uprooted, left lying around like carcasses, and homes destroyed. Parts of Kodagu had literally been ripped apart. I'm with C.K. Puvaya, who was involved in some of the rescue operations here.
There have been 22 people
in this area
who died. Some were in their houses.
Yeah.
The total count is 22, so there have been different
Okay.
some got washed away in floods also.
Okay.
And there have been at least 200 houses damaged. And people who have lost their entire land also. Some people who have lost everything, including the house.
Yeah. One such home belonged to Chitra Subaya, who miraculously escaped death. Her grandnephew Devaya was in the house at the bottom of the hill when the whole area caved in.
All this started basically around the 14th, and it started with all the heavy rains, and most of the moisture started locking into the soil. Okay, as you can notice from over there, it took my grandaunt's house and went. Luckily, one day before she left her dog, she took all her belongings, at least what she needed for that moment, and she left.
So what caused her to leave? Were there warnings on the radio or TV?
A house cracked right through the middle. And then the next day, just around 4 o'clock, I woke up, me and my father were there, and we could hear the land just sliding. Around 5:30 when we walked around over there, you could not even notice the house.
A real-life horror story like that gets another dimension when this is seen from a satellite. These satellite images show Kodagu before and after the landslides. This global landslide susceptibility map, created by scientists at NASA in 2017, shows around 21% of landslide-prone areas in India are located in the Western Ghats. Another study by the World Resources Institute shows most of the landslides in the Kodagu region are a consequence of deforestation and what is called slope failure.
All these landslides have happened in Zone 1 and Zone 2 suggested by Gargle Committee report. Zone 1 and 2, the most significant areas. That's what I said. Had they protected that area, this much damage would not have happened.
Hundreds of people have been displaced and are still trying to come to terms with the damage. It's estimated that the economic loss is about $300 million, and an estimated 1,060 hectares of land, or the equivalent of 1,500 football fields, have been affected in Kodagu. Once a quiet district known for its coffee, Kodagu has over the years seen a spurt in tourism and unplanned development. That's another link in the chain of events leading up to nature's fury. Colonel Muthanna, president of the Coorg Wildlife Society, who has been fighting against deforestation and unplanned development in Kodagu, explains why the deluge caused so much devastation.
There's a larger set of causes such as excessive sand mining, rapid urbanization, heavy impact of tourism and so on. So it's a cumulative effect of various factors which have been triggered off by the torrential rain.
You also have huge amount of your paddy fields in Kodagu now going under urbanization. So your ability to hold the water so that it doesn't become a flood is also getting destroyed.
Real estate development has fueled another lucrative business, that of sand mining.
Sand is a very much an integral part of the riverine ecosystem. The river consists not only of the water and the fishes and other microorganisms, but the sand, the river banks, the weeds, so it's all part of the riverine ecosystem. In such cases, when there's torrential rain, then when there's very huge amount of fast-flowing water, banks get eroded very fast because of the absence of sand and buffer. And then there is a collapse of the adjoining embankments.
Kodagu is where the Kaveri comes from. And Kaveri is a river, and there is war between states, okay, for the water of Kaveri. Now, if you don't think about the catchment of the Kaveri and how you're going to protect the Kodagu watershed in a way that you can do both economic activities, but you can make sure that you at all stages do much better soil and water conservation, and you plan for heavy rainfall, you will have mudslides, you will have disasters like this.
Colonel Muthanna and his team are fighting a big fight against deforestation. So these are the proposed development plans for this region, right, Colonel?
Yes. There are proposals for 2 major railway lines through Kodagu and 4 multi-lane highways. Our estimate is that the railway lines and the multi-lane national highways will result at least in the loss of about 4 lakh trees.
See, the railway line doesn't mean only that width and length. Another 15 meter or so, it will go inside at both sides. Right through the forest is disastrous. There is no doubt about it.
There have been large protest marches against the proposed railway line and highway expansion. It's growing to be a citizens' movement to protect the Western Ghats and their own lives against calamities such as these. It's time maybe to pull back a little and relook at our development strategy and see if we can find ways to reduce the consequences of heavy rainfall that is becoming increasingly unpredictable. According to some reports, it is estimated that about 1/5 of global flood-related deaths occur in India, and more than 19 million, approximately the population of Chile, have been rendered homeless since 1950. In Kerala and Karnataka, rebuilding is a slow and arduous task.
The first rehabilitation effort is required at the livelihood level. So livelihood is the first challenge. The second challenge is rebuilding those houses lost and damaged houses. Third comes the reconstruction of public assets, the roads, the irrigation systems, the agriculture infrastructure.
Onam, Kerala's New Year, is about new beginnings. Gopinath Parayil, a designer by profession, and his partner Lakshmi are working with the weaver community to help give them a new start.
We decided that we have to upcycle this. So Lakshmi went back home that night and created few designs. One was Chekuti.
Out of one sari, we make around 360 dolls. After selling these dolls, we'll get 9,000 out of one sari. So the money is transferred to the weaver's account. The meaning is, Cher in Malayalam means mud, and Chekuti is the girl who survived mud.
Tindara timida tara tindi tara te. Tindara timida tara tindi tara te. Tindara timida tara.
The Chekuti doll will always hold this story in a being. The story of violent waters, real-life superheroes, and the resilience of the human spirit. My thoughts are with you, Chekuti, the child who survived the mud. May your spirit be strong as you rebuild. I hope Sukumaran and Indra don't have to wait too long to get new looms and threads so they can get back on their feet again. Before I left, I asked the experts I had met if they had any predictions to make.
There are certain studies which says because of this global warming or impact of climate change, the predictability of the extremely heavy rainfall events will be difficult over the years.
Development cannot be there without your natural resources. Let us divide the Western Ghats into three, depending on the importance of that. Then we have given a beautiful table saying that what we can do in zone 1, zone 2 and zone 3 and what we should not do.
It's very difficult for anyone to say what tomorrow will bring. But what is absolutely clear is that what today is bringing, showing us that it's distinctly different from yesterday. And if this pace continues, and from all evidence, it will not just continue, but it will accelerate, then I can only say to you that things will get much worse unless we do things differently.
And that concludes our post-mortem of a mega flood. If I'm permitted to personify our natural resources, I guess I would say our sighing rivers gave up the river from their beds to sand miners. Our groaning mountains gave up their topsoil and trees for developers. Our hills were blasted for their stone. And above all, unplanned, uncontrolled development took its toll. Development for what or for whom, I'm not sure. All these things make for a heavy cocktail waiting to unravel. And when the rains came down in the manner in which they did, all things worked together to create a perfect disaster. With weather patterns becoming increasingly variable, it's uncertain when the next big mega flood will be.